Self-declared independent representative in the Nevis Island Assembly, Cleone Stapleton Simmons, has been officially expelled from the Nevis Reformation Party, the NRP, and all the institutions of the party. A release from the NRP on Monday said the disciplinary committee communicated its recommendation regarding Cleone Stapleton Simmons to the NRP's executive committee, and acting on the advice has moved to expel her from all institutions of the party. The release said, quote, "The decision came as a result of Stapleton Simmons' failure to comply with the decision of the Executive Committee of her to support the Honourable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, as leader of the opposition in the Nevis Island Assembly." End quote. Stapleton Simmons' expulsion follows her suspension from all institutions of the party in February 2023. After the December 2022 Nevis Island elections, both Stapleton Simmons and party leader Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge were at odds on their choice of an opposition senator and who will be the leader of the opposition. Dr. Daniel Hodge, political leader of the NRP, was elected for the first time to the Assembly in December 2022 and joined re-elected MP Cleone Stapleton Simmons in the House. But it was soon realized that there was an impasse between the two MPs regarding Stapleton Simmons' support of the NRP leader as the leader of the opposition. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. The annual Labour Day March for this year was the first one for Dr. Terence Drew as leader of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, and in his maiden Labour Day address, he battled for minimum wage increase and improving the lives of workers in the country. The Labour Party leader and Prime Minister promised to increase the minimum wage within the first year of his government.
To improve and expand social security, healthcare, health insurance, housing solutions, education opportunities, workplace conditions, unemployment insurance, severance benefits, and of course, our commitment to increasing the minimum wage during our first term in office. First year, in office. To be sure, all of these benefits of which I speak cost money. There's nothing easy or stress-free about life, living, and indeed the world. Therefore, all able-bodied residents and citizens must play their part by making a contribution to economic growth.
A similar sentiment was shared by the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labour Union representative Curtis Francis, who called for the creation of a livable wage for workers.
We are the voice of you, the workers, on the National Minimum Wage Advisory Committee, the Social Security Board, the National Tripartite Committee, Solid Waste Management Board, the Tibet Council, and other related workforce board. Workers, we know that at this time, with the rise in inflation, you are looking forward to a wage increase. Most recently, the union would have submitted its position paper to the National Minimum Wage Advisory Committee. Our recommendation calls for a specific increase for a livable wage. Note I say again, the union at this stage is looking for what we call a livable wage.
Prior to the march, the Labour Party representatives, as is customary, laid wreaths at the graves of Labour stalwarts who have passed on. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah!
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Want to buy some fresh fruits, vegetables, or ground provision, but don't have the time to go to the market or even to find parking? Look no further. Green Market and Delivery is your solution. Green Market and Delivery is an e-commerce store that sells and delivers local produce to customers in St. Kitts and Nevis. Anything you purchase, you can get fresh from the market and delivered directly to your door. Log on to www.greenmarketskn.com. Click on the e-store link, choose your items, and shop away. We have a wide array of products from fruits, vegetables, local products, spices and seasonings, and much more. Save time and energy. Shop on greenmarketskn.com, your one-stop shop for fresh local produce.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
The People's Action Movement celebrated Labor Day with their customary fundraising breakfast and social at the party's headquarters on Lockhart Street, Bastyr. Chairperson of the People's Action Movement Women's Arm, Jacqueline Howell, spoke about the party's Labor Day events on Monday.
It is one of our biggest annual fundraisers. We do breakfast, lunch, and then we just social. It's a day for us to socialize and, keep in contact with our people. It is, as you can see right now, it is quite busy.
Ms. Howell spoke to what Labor Day means to the People's Action Movement.
Without the workers, we would not be anywhere. So we really enjoy and support all workers within, as I said, the party and the federation.
Audrey Huey, SKN Newsline.
Workers on St. Kitts and Nevis commemorated 28 April as World Day for Safety and Health at Work. The day was marked on the theme, A Safe and Healthy Working Environment, a Fundamental Right. Minister of Employment and Labour Marsha Henderson, in addressing the nation, said, quote, "It is imperative that as the working environment evolves with changes in technology, equipment, processes, and policies, that we readily adapt. We must implement structures and strong safety policies that ensure a safe working environment for all stakeholders," end quote.
Our employees must be equipped with the necessary tools and training to safely discharge their duties. The environment must be reflective of adherence to safety guidelines. Any commitment to safety in the workspace is guaranteed to save lives and must therefore be a number one priority. Employees too must recognize that they too are responsible and should at all times ensure safe practices and display responsible behavior. Employees should follow all rules and guidelines, report work hazards in a timely manner, and work towards a safe environment for themselves and others within the workplace. Permit me to remind us all of the important roles of our regulators and inspectors whose main task is that of ensuring safety in the workplace by identifying and enforcing safety regulations. The fact is, compliance and guidance strengthen the pillars of safety in the workplace, and we must adhere to this to ensure that safety is guaranteed.
Minister Henderson said safety structures and strong safety policies must be implemented to ensure safe work environments. Glenn Bob reporting for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Want to buy some fresh fruits, vegetables, or ground provision, but don't have the time to go to the market or even to find parking? Look no further. Green Market and Delivery is your solution. Green Market and Delivery is an e-commerce store that sells and delivers local produce to customers in St. Kitts and Nevis. Anything you purchase, you can get fresh from the market and delivered directly to your door. Log on to www.greenmarketskn.com. Click on the e-store link, choose your items, and shop away. We have a wide array of products from fruits, vegetables, local products, spices and seasonings, and much more. Save time and energy. Shop on greenmarketskn.com, your one-stop shop for fresh local produce.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
A vibrant atmosphere as members of both the Antigua Trades and Labour Union and the Labour Party it spawned were out in their numbers on Monday. They converged at the VC Bird Bust for the traditional Labour Day event. Prime Minister Honourable Gaston Brown was welcomed with song and also took the opportunity to sing.
Every day of my life I am blessed. When I wake up in the morning and I lay my head to rest. Every day of my life I am blessed.
He He told the supporters his administration was firmly committed to improving pay and conditions for workers as he provided an update on discussions for a public sector wage increase.
You would have noted that back in 2018, we gave an increase of 5%, and we committed to do far more than 5%. We're about to conclude those negotiations, and I'm absolutely sure that at the end of the day, when we would have resolved the issues within the upcoming months or weeks, that we'll be able to maintain the purchasing power parity of our workers.
The Prime Minister assured that as the economy grows, the government will grant more increases since the aim is for an improvement in their living standards. Prime Minister Brown also urged workers to play their part.
This year, we expect to grow the country's economy by over 9%. And next year, we hope to repeat it again. But in order to sustain that level of growth, workers must increase their productivity. So in as much as we are committed to your empowerment, you too as workers have an obligation to produce more so that we can increase revenues and so that the government will be empowered to give you regular increases.
ATNLU President Wiggly George, meanwhile, urged workers not to be enmeshed in what he called an effort by operatives to inveigle them to make unreasonable wage increase demands. He warned this approach is counterproductive.
If we have retrenchment, it therefore means the public service will be slashed first. So take care of your jobs. Do not be coerced by anyone to tell you to join them in anything. Make sure your bread and butter is secure. It's better to say, here it is, than where it is.
There was a similar message to the workers from ABLP Chairman, Honorable E.P. Chet Green. He called for a constructive and reasoned approach.
What's required of us, all of us, is for responsible thinking and responsible attitude. And so I want to thank the teachers who at the end of the negotiations realized that the path they were going down on was not the right path for our country. I want to thank the nurses who realized that dialogue is what you use to solve any and every problem.
Right now, the ministry operates as the technical body, but in the future, we will examine a commission. So that's still on the cards, but it is not like on the verge of.
Last year, Jagdeo said the government will ensure that the Petroleum Commission will comprise of personnel equipped with the technical knowledge of the industry. He acknowledged that the Petroleum Commission is critical to any government's regulatory architecture. But in the same breath, he said the absence of such a body in Ghana does not mean that the sector will be mired in corruption.
The Petroleum Commission is not a safeguard against corruption. It's utter nonsense. We acknowledge in this article that true, that there are lots of work on the regulatory side. We made it clear that a new PSA has to be put in place. We're working on that.
The Petroleum Commission regulates and oversees the exploration, development, and production of petroleum resources in Guyana. The establishment of the Commission was a key recommendation of the Natural Resource Fund Act passed in 2017 to provide a legal framework for the management of the country's oil revenues. The government is reviewing Ghana's current Petroleum Commission bill, which will pave the way for the establishment of the commission, underscored by the General Secretary at his Thursday last party press conference.
Forward with two elements of that framework. We've done several already. The two that we are working on the PSA and the legislation, the Petroleum Act.
Natural Resources Shadow Minister David Patterson has called on the government to expedite the appointment process and ensure that the commission is fully operational as soon as possible. He told this newscast that this appointment will ensure transparency and accountability to take its course when managing the country's natural resources. Antonio Day reporting for the AGP Nightly News.
It was early Monday morning when regulators announced the end of First Republic Bank and what they hoped was the end to a crisis of confidence in the U.S. financial system. Banking giant J.P. Morgan stepped in to purchase the California-based bank's nearly $104 billion in deposits and $229 billion in assets before the stock market opened. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon spoke with analysts about the deal.
No crystal ball is perfect, but this part of the crisis is over.
First Republic had been teetering on the brink of collapse in the wake of two others, Silicon Valley and Signature Bank, amounting to some of the largest bank failures in U.S. history. Rising interest rates caused loans and investments to lose value. All three of these banks catered to wealthy clients with large uninsured deposits, more prone to withdraw them in times of stress.
We had a structure of near zero interest rates for 20 years. And when you begin to reset those, especially very quickly, which the Fed has under pressure from the inflation debates that we've had, you're going to have structures that evolved under low interest rates that don't meet the challenges of a new environment very well, of a higher interest rates.
The Federal Reserve meets later this week to decide whether or not to continue that policy of raising interest rates. At the White House, President Joe Biden attempted to reassure depositors and the American public their money is safe.
These actions are going to make sure that the banking system is safe and sound, and that includes protecting small businesses across the country who need to make payroll for workers and their small businesses.
While rising interest rates may continue to make financial institutions reluctant to loan money, federal regulators are hoping that this allows the country to put the banking crisis behind them. One clear winner in all of this is, of course, JP Morgan Chase. It was already the United States' largest bank. Now, with this acquisition, it's even larger. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, New York.
Taking it to the streets. Unionists, indigenous and pro-government movements marched to the presidential palace, heeding the call of Colombia's president to defend his controversial social reforms. It is Gustavo Petro's preferred strategy in times of crisis.
They thought a cornered Petro would abandon the idea of a great transformation. But this is not our destiny. That's not why we are here. Our function in the history of Colombia is to make the reforms succeed.
Accusation comes just days after Petro dismissed 7 cabinet ministers, mostly members of the country's political establishment, replacing them with close allies. At the heart of the crisis is Petro's controversial healthcare reform plan, which would reduce the involvement of private entities and give the state more control over funds. But his plan has been lagging in Congress. Green Party Senator Ariel Avila says the cabinet breakup signals the end of Petro's broad governing coalition. But his reformist agenda could be difficult to realize with a weakened base in Congress.
The government presented 35 reforms. Of these 4, the so-called social reforms, are the most controversial and have led to the breakdown of the coalition. The government now will try to negotiate votes with each congressman. Then, when it sees that many of his reforms will fail, Petro will try with the street democracy. He will try to promote a referendum to approve the reform.
Critics consider the abrupt shake-up coming just 9 months into Petro's administration as a possible radicalization on part of a president that has shown little patience for dissent, and the move has also sent shockwaves through the currency and bond markets.
The most worrying loss for the markets was the sacking of Finance Minister José Antonio Campo, an internationally admired economist who many observers saw as a wall of protection against radical moves. Petro replaced him with Ricardo Bonilla, another seasoned economist, but one who observers fear will simply do as he's told.
The president may be keen to make some decisions about cost controls, price increases for fuel, additional subsidies, or even an extraordinary increase in the minimum wage. So each of those lines in the sand represent opportunities for Bonilla to say, stop, no, and show if he will rise to the occasion and fill the big shoes that Ocampo left behind.
Petro will be hoping to push labor, pension and health reform to Congress in the next couple of weeks, but it will have to do it with declining support in the polls and shaky economic times ahead, showing just how difficult it will be to fulfill his promise of change. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
St. Peter's FC continued their good run of form to end round 1 of the SKNFA Premier League on Friday when they dispatched off Rams Village Superstars 3-1 at the Newtown playing field. St. Peter's netted all 3 goals in the first half. Salas Connonier in the 24th minute from the penalty spot, Aidan Nurse in the 40th minute, and Taekwon Terrell in the 2nd minute of stoppage time. Tahir Hanley got a consolation goal in the 53rd minute, but for most of the match, Village never looked like they were in a position to overturn the results. Coach Austin Deco Huggins of St. Peter's said with round 1 finished, he believes St. Peter's performed creditably well.
Creditably well. We have lost some games that I thought we should have won, but nevertheless that's the game. But the bigger teams, we were able to compete, and so far none of them have beaten us. We won and draw. But I think we've been good standing right now, but we're going to continue to work harder, and in the second round we hope to achieve greater things.
Village's assistant coach Vaughn Patrick said his team was lackadaisical in the first half of the match.
Second half we played a bit more better in the second half. We controlled the tempo of the game. In the first half we let the guys come to us, and we were just lackadaisical. We were dropping far back instead of pushing and closing down the gap. So I mean, we get by 3 times, 3 goals. I mean, when you're down 3 goals, it's kind of hard to come back. But I mean, we did try proper fight in the second half, but unfortunately, we only could have managed to get 1.
In the night's other match, Newtown United drew 1-1 with Security Forces. Sylvester Keynes gave Newtown the lead in the 16th minute, but Avril, Challenger of Security Forces, equalized in the 84th minute to share the spoils. Coach Sinclair Morris of Security Forces was pleased with the efforts of his team.
I believe we started out a bit slow, and that was based on the warm-up. When you look at the hour, we're playing 8 o'clock. Probably that's the first time we play 8 o'clock game, so it tends to affect the players. There's a lot of things also. We had different challenges in terms of the players attending training and those type of things. But besides that, our first half wasn't too good, but the second half, at least we stick to our game plan in terms of we mid-block and everything and trying to pressure them and close down the area. And fortunately, we get a goal. Not fortunately, we work for the goal. We want our super sub come on and trying a long ball over. We'll touch by storage and a little touching by Sky. Overall, I think we had a reasonable game. We could play better. Definitely we can play better, but based on the time of the game, we kind of fluctuate.
It was a dramatic finish for Saul Island Auto Supply's Connery FC, who finished round 1 of the 2023 SKNFA Premier League on a high after coming from behind to defeat MFCR Old Road United Jets 3-1 in St. Paul's on Saturday. Jardel Isaac got the goal scoring off for Old Road, giving them a 1-0 lead at halftime in the 20th minute. But in the second half, it was all Connery. Errol O'Loughlin scoring in the 51st minute, Quiniki Clark in the 80th minute, and Javern Matthew sealing the win in the 88th minute from the penalty spot. Coach Al Richards explained how Connery had a different second half performance compared to the first.
Was down 1-0 first half. I just tell them, you just be patient and trust the process. And then we're going to get we goals them. You know what I mean? And I say well to my guys, we actually sticking to the plan and executing very well.
For Coach Alexis Morris of Old Road, his team should have finished off the match in the first half and said Connery was the better team in the second half.
Football is a tale of 2 games, and Connery were better in the second game. But I just thought that if we had done what we had to do in the first half, the game would not have been like that. We should have been actually comfortable in the locker room during the first 45. We should have been up at least 4-0. So I mean, we came out the second half and Connery was much better than us, and as a result they got the go-ahead goal. They got the equalizer, they got the go-ahead goal, and as a result, at the end of the day, my team would have lost.
In the earlier match of the doubleheader, defending champions SL Horswood St. Paul's United cruised to a 3-1 victory over Bath United. The goals come in the first half, Keith Roy Freeman scoring twice in the 4th and 6th minutes, and Vince Roy Nelson in the 34th minute. The consolation goal for Bath came in the second half, the 56th minute, from Trevor Donrod. Manager of St. Paul's, Austin Lewis, while happy with the win, said the team had a better first half than the second.
I think we had a good first half. The second half, I think we lost the game in the second half.
Coach Alex Claxton of Bath commended his players for a hard-fought second half. In reviewing round 1 of the Premier League, Coach Claxton said his team is maturing and handling the pressures of the Premier League quite well.
At the end of the first round last season, after playing 11 games, we only had 4 points and only scored 4 goals. This is the end of the first round, and we're on 14 points. It means that, the team has, been maturing and, understanding what Premier football is all about. And we're looking forward, to continue to work hard as we get into the second round.
League leaders Flow 4G Cairn Rockets are back to winning ways after a 5-0 drubbing of Jones Group's Sandy Point on Sunday at the Warner Park in the 2023 SKNFA Premier League. Alexander Warner of Sandy Point scored an own goal in the 42nd minute coming from a free kick from Carlos Bertie. Dylan Morton scored for Cairn in the 53rd minute from the penalty spot. Carlos Bertie scored twice in the 63rd and 88th minutes, and Mervyn Lewis in the 83rd minute. Coach Al Edwards of Cairn said the victory was a result of his team getting back players who were missing through injuries and suspension.
Well, first of all, it feels good to get back in winner's circle. It feels comfortable, it feels good. It looked as if they got getting back to sticking to the game plan no matter what, because Sandy Point, kudos to them, they stuck to their guns through the first half. We were able to get 1 goal, and then once we continued our plan, we kind of broke them down. Fortunate to get a penalty, but other than that, I think we took control of the game.
Assistant manager of Sandy Point, Shane Jeffers, said his team has to find a way to get victories as round 2 begins this weekend.
The reality of it is that we have to try and avoid relegation. That's just simply as it is. We are at the bottom of the table. We have to now look directly at guys who are teams that are directly in front of us and work towards that. Next round, first game, St. Paul's. We'll just have to do what we have to do. We'll have to regroup. We'll have to come back. We have to find some positives to move forward with and hope that we can get some points going forward.
Meanwhile, the match of the weekend, Hobson Enterprises Garden Hotspurs came from behind to draw 1-1 with fast-cast Saddlers United, scoring in the dying moments of the match. DeAndre Henderson scored for Saddlers in the 68th minute, but Spurs equalized from Shaquille Adams in the 9th minute of stoppage time. Interestingly, last week Sunday, Spurs gave up a 1-0 lead to draw 1-1 with Newtown in the dying moments of the match. This week, the tables have turned, but coach Stephen Brown of Spurs said his team did not play well.
My thoughts on the game today is, from my team's perspective, I don't think we played a very good game today. The passing was sloppy, and honestly, I just don't know why that happened. Maybe it just wasn't our day, but we managed to stay to the end and get a last-minute goal to salvage a point, which is always a plus in the standings right now.
Saddlers coach Samuel Phipps bemoaned the fact his players lost concentration defensively to concede that last-minute goal.
That the guys played their heart out despite the conditions. Yes, our goalkeeper went down late in the second half in the injury time, Jose, and we gave up a soft goal in my estimation.
So with round 1 of the 2023 SKNFA Premier League ending on the weekend, Cairn Rockets still remain at the top of the table with 26 points. St. Paul's United, the defending champions, have moved up to second with 21 points. Old Road United Jets, after losing on Saturday, are left now in 3rd place with 20 points. Newtown United, also with 20 points, but a lower goal difference of +6. Connery FC are in 5th position with 18 points, but a higher goal difference of St. Peter's, who are in 6th, also with 18 points. Connery has a +7 goal difference compared to St. Peter's +3. Village Superstars are in 7th position with 14 points. So too is Garden Hotspurs with 14 points. Both teams tied on goal difference, but Village with a higher goal tally. They scored 23 goals compared to Garden Hotspurs' 15 goals. Bath United are in 9th position with 14 points. The teams in the relegation zone so far: Saddlers United with 9 points, Security Forces with 4 points, and Sandy Point FC at the bottom of the table with 2 points. The 2023 SKNFA Premier League Round 2 begins on Friday.